Hello class, this is your first content lesson on the Kachina, and today you're going to meet the Kachina. So we have a few essential questions. What is a Kachina? What purposes do they serve? What does the Kachina as spirit do? Kachina as the dancer, and Kachina as the doll, because they appear in three forms. And please pay close attention to all of the slides and the pictures on them because they are examples of Kachina like you are making. In this case, this is one of the cow Kachinas. So Kachinas are part of the Hopi religion. They are spirits that are from and in charge of the natural world. So there's a Kachina for just about anything you can think about. Earth, including there's one for dirt, there's one for mountains, all sorts of animals that are native to that area, plants, water, like rain and snow and fog, air, wind, all of the like tornadoes and things, fire, weather, thunderstorms, snowstorms, sun. And then for the stars, the moon and the sun, being different from weather, but talking about the planets and celestial things in the sky. And also some ancestors can also become Kachinas. And over here on the right, you are looking at one of the butterfly maidens. She is one of the female Kachinas. And even though there are female Kachinas, men usually are taking part in the dances. They're dressed as the female Kachinas. Butterfly women, usually you can tell this by their huge headdress. Sometimes the newer models have butterfly wings as well, but they all have the big headdress. So the purpose of a Kachina, they are spirits of the world. They return yearly to ensure fertilization and growth and that the cycle of nature keeps going. They also are for people, and they are guides and teachers, teaching people how to be mature and grow in peacefulness, knowledge, and wisdom. And that's not just children, that's a lifelong growth in those areas. And also learning things like agriculture and medicine. They also serve as social controls. They call out bad behavior, literally. They give out punishments, and they reinforce cultural traditions. And this is a painting of some of the Kachinas coming down from the mountains. We'll talk about that more in the dances, but that's part of it, is that the Kachina societies go up into the mountains, and that's where they put on their costumes, and then they come down into the village. And once they're in the village, they never take their costume off until they go back into the mountains. So the first form is the Kachina as a spirit. Again, they're physical versions of things, and they're key to this religion. And even though they're spirits, they're not gods, they're spirits. They can behave like humans. They can have relationships. They can fight with each other. They can gang up and form alliances. They can marry. They can have children. They can break up, and they can die. They have all sorts of different personalities. Some of them are brave and kind and loving, and some are scary and very violent and creative. There's peaceful ones, there's tricksters, and there's over 400 Kachina spirits. Sometimes a Kachina spirit will die or be forgotten, and sometimes they create new ones as new things move into their life. And here you see someone in the Kachina garb, and another Hopi with his splendid dog. So the Kachina as a dancer, the Kachinas come down from the mountains and they live with people for over 6 months of the year. And the main time of that is from February through July. Some of the activities start in December around the winter solstice, but the first big official Kachina ceremony is in February. And in their mythology, the Kachinas used to be real, as in three-dimensional, walking around kind of real, but there was a war, and this is something you'll find out about more tomorrow, and their physical forms were killed. But the spirits stayed, the spirits weren't killed, and they taught the Hopi how to create the masks and the costumes to represent them so that the teachings and the traditions wouldn't be lost. The Hopi were taught the dances and the rituals, and when they are performing, putting on the costumes and performing the rituals, the dancers become the Kachina. They give the spirit a physical form. Children are initiated into the Kachina rites when they are around 7, and up until that time, they're taught to believe that the dancers they see are real Kachinas, and then when they are initiated, they start learning about the Kachinas more in depth in order to eventually belong to one of the Kachina clans. And this is one of the actual masks that fit over the head, and the masks typically go over the head and come down and rest on your shoulders. They're really large. So Kachina, the third form, are the dolls, which is like the sculptures we are making. They are not meant to be played with. They are carvings. They represent each Kachina, and during the first big ceremony, the Palmaya, they are given to children in February. And they're given to female children as rewards for good behavior and as ways to teach the religion and stories. Male children are given other things. Sometimes they're given Kachina dolls too, but mostly they're giving other parts of the Kachina ceremonies that we're not going to deal directly with, but things like the special rattles and drums and things that they will use later as they become Kachina dancers themselves. Female children, they get a doll usually twice a year at the beginning of February, and then another one when the Kachinas go away in July. And that lasts until they're about 10. And then new brides, if you get married during the year, then your mother will present you to the spirits and introduce you as your new rank, as an adult, as a wife, and then you get a special doll. So we're going to look at some types of Kachinas. The chiefs are the main Kachinas. They are the big spirits. They take part in all of the 9-day ceremonies. This means that they come down from the mountain and they stay in costume for 9 days. They are associated with specific clans and ranks within a clan. This includes Itoto, which is the spiritual father. He is one of the Kachinas that was helping with the creation of spirits. And Crow Mother, who is a spiritual mother and who is also in charge of creation. You can see that they have their different masks on. Itoto has a feather and a gourd, and these are dance bells. Whenever you see these around the legs, that means that he makes noise when he dances. Crow Mother is quiet. She has this crazy cool headdress, and she gives gifts. She brings around seeds and sprouted plants and gives those on the first ceremony, but she's more serious and reserved. There are warriors and guards. These are important spirits of war, law, and safety. During ceremonies, they protect the Kachinas. They keep the clowns in line. We're going to talk about the clowns. They prevent people from interrupting ceremonies and dances and meetings. And they make sure that everybody participates in communal activities. So all of these ceremonies are not an option. Everybody has to participate. If you don't, you stay home. These guys literally come and get you, drag you out of your house, and make you do it. Likewise, they also are in charge of making people do the cooking for the ceremonies and cleaning up and whatever it is the person's supposed to be doing. Um, this is an atole here, a blue atole, and this is the warrior maiden, and her story is, they think, based on a true story of a chief's daughter at the Pueblo. And when people were out doing things and a lot of the men were away, the Pueblo was attacked. She was in the middle of putting up her hair. They wear their long hair, unmarried women, in these big, round, like Princess Leia buns on the side of their head. That's why she has one up and one is down and her hair is flying around. And anyway, she was interrupted in the middle of doing her hair, and she went out and defended her people and is a big hero. Ogres are monsters. They are scary Kachinas in charge of discipline, and they come down and they go home to home demanding food. They go and they say, I want this food, and they'll tell you exactly what they want, and then they'll come back in a week and expect to have it there. They also punish bad children, literally. They will scare them. They will try to kidnap them, and then the warriors have to come and get the children away. But that's their job, is scaring children into good behavior. It's kind of like a Santa Claus Krampus thing. Eventually, the warriors come down and drive them out, and you have two types of ogres. You have the black ogres, which are more violent, and the white ogres that are more tricky. There are runners. The Hopi and people of the Pueblos are known for being excellent runners. It's a very important part of their culture. Even now, they do marathons. They do desert running, which is like cross country on steroids. And a lot of times they do that barefoot. We're talking hot sand and cactus. Anyway, the runners race with the men of the Pueblos. It's part of the games that happen. If you win, you are given gifts and food. And if you lose, you get whipped with a yucca leaf, which is what is in his hand. Yuccas are the big cactuses. There's some around here. And they strip the leaves off, and it leaves kind of a sharp edge. They have mud thrown on them, and they're forced to eat super hot chili. Not chili as in the cooked up chili, but like as in dried chili peppers, ground chili. And he's got bells on too. Whippers do a couple things. They take the bad children and they whip them with the yucca stalks, and that's the green parts in their hands. They whip the clowns as punishment, and that's kind of an illustration about what happens if you're bad. And then they whip some of the female Kachina too. This is a little different. It's not hard. It's just like light taps, and it's kind of a fertility ceremony. It symbolizes sex and order to replenish things. They always carry the yucca whips. They have a few features in common with ogres. They might have the pop eyes and the long tongues, but they're not ogres. They're different. The clowns, the Kachina clowns keep people entertained between the ceremonies, and they perform skits that illustrate bad behavior. So they'll show you what you shouldn't do, and then the whippers and the warriors come and get them and punish them. Sometimes their bad behavior is super personal. They will show up in front of your house, your pueblo, and they will act out what you did bad, whether it's my example of swiping a donut from somebody's lunch, or if you did something really bad like cheated on your spouse or stole something very valuable or hurt somebody, they'll come act it out, and then the warriors will grab you and drag you out, and the whippers will beat you. And that tells everybody, basically, if you're bad, this will happen. That sounds really harsh, but in reality, the Pueblo people, peoples, the Hopi and the other Pueblo people, are known for being extremely peaceful and having very peaceful societies. And this is part of it. It's because if you know that this is going to happen when you're bad, you kind of want to avoid that. The Hannu clowns are very popular. They're the striped clowns. They're often shown eating watermelon. They have a reputation for being greedy. They go around, they steal food, and they do these little actions, and they do other things like stealing your boots and putting them on, things of that nature. They also do a lot of acrobatics. Tricksters and Kokopelli. Kokopelli is one of the well-known Kachinas. He's a hunchback Kachina, often shown with a flute. You probably would recognize the symbol for Kokopelli instead of the real Kokopelli, which is here. He is the Kachina of seduction, trickery, and fertility. So he plays a lot of practical jokes on men, and then he seduces women. In other words, he flirts with them and acts really overly sexual with them, not in an inappropriate way, but in a way that is appropriate for their culture, making jokes, just flirting outrageously, and giving them seeds, which is a sign of fertility, and also so they have them for planting. And that's Kokopelli. There are animal Kachinas, the Popkat, and they are important. They're advisors, they're teachers, they're doctors. They teach traditional medicine and how to cure injuries. They teach plant life, how to hunt. They teach self-defense and how to tell if danger is coming. And here's a few examples. We have the owl Kachina with the big owl headdress. And then this is a deer Kachina. Both the deer and antelope Kachinas carry these sticks. And you may not realize, but what those sticks are doing is they act as the front feet of the deer. And when they walk, they use those sticks as if they were front legs and kind of mimic the movements of the deer. Mudheads are my favorites, some of my favorites. They're involved in all the ceremonies. They have these big, round, crazy mud heads with these big, round eyes and mouth and then these like knobs. And they are the drummers and the musicians. They play games. They kind of organize the games and are the judges. And they provide entertainment. And they tell the clowns when to perform and when to stop and things of that nature. So your assignment is a Kachina investigation. You just need your Chromebook. There is a link site. If you are in school, you need me to sign into there. If you can't access the site at home, let me know. There are other sites. There's a list of some of the main and popular Kachinas and a brief description of what they do. If you can't get to it on the Chromebook, put it in your phone. Choose a Kachina that sounds interesting, and then Google their name plus the word Kachina. Example, Mudhead Kachina. Otherwise, you will get Mudhead Motorsports and things like that. And a lot of different images will come up. You can find an image you like and draw it. You could combine images and draw them, and then photograph and upload. And this is a painting of a mudhead that I did several years ago. So just photograph it and turn it in. This does not have to be the one that you're using for your sculpture. This is just so that you get familiar with the Kachinas and start discovering how cool they are. Okay, that's it. Happy Kachina-ing.